Talking about my generation. Bam, bam, bam. Don't you fucking ever use that as a cold open. Heyo, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Brotherhood Without Manners. Is that recording?
Hell yeah, it is.
Oh, okay, cool.
Oh, I'm nobody. Go.
Yeah, I'm nobody. Son of a bitch. I'm Zach. This is Nate. As always, we're going to be bringing you the freshest, the sickest Game of Thrones, which is a, fuck me, I'm butchering this intro.
I don't think it's the freshest, to tell you the truth, because that would probably be like Fire and Blood and
damn it
stuff. But, you know, we'll get there. We're working on it. We're heading that direction, ladies and gentlemen.
Fuck it, we're doing it live.
For those of you that don't know and are first joining us, we are a full spoiler reread podcast of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series, beginning with A Game of Thrones. What's up, everybody? It's Nate here from Brotherhood Without Manners. I'm just going to sneak in and tell you really quick about this sweet app called Podcoin. If you listen to podcasts at all, especially Brotherhood Without Manners, all you have to do is download this app, download our podcast, put in the code Brotherhood, and you will get 300 coins, and you can spend those coins on all sorts of cool stuff. Gift cards, donating to charity, whatever. So give it a try. Let us know if you like it. We really enjoy using it for our podcast listening. You can get free stuff, so why not take advantage of something you already do? Anyway, back to the episode.
I'll be over here.
Not doing your intro like you were supposed to.
I'm Zach, by the way.
Yeah, you said that.
Cool.
That you got right. You got that part.
I know.
So,
I'm just sticking with what I know. If you joined us last time, we were reading Tyrion 4. Tyrion had been taken by Catelyn Stark, and instead of heading for Winterfell, as she liked to boast, they were instead
loudly and often.
Thank you, Professor McGonagall.
Yeah.
Instead, they were taking the eastern road up into the Eyrie to visit her sister Lysa.
Hell yeah, but then, surprise, clans, tribesmen I combined them into a singular.
Monumental.
They attacked, and then Tyrion had his first battle. It was successful for the most part.
He fucked shit up.
He handled some business, but go listen to the episode, and it's great news.
Enjoy it. It's a good chapter.
This chapter is going to be pretty awesome, too. Any news before we jump right into there? Anything you've got?
I don't have... E3. Haha. E3.
Oh, yeah. So those of you who don't know, we also play video games.
Yeah, well, I mean...
Who doesn't these days?
Who doesn't?
True.
E3 just happened, and... Well, I'm not going to
Yeah, we're not crazy.
There was a game announced with George R.R. Martin in collaboration of From Software, which is a company we happen to really enjoy.
So he did make a mention on his Not blog a few weeks ago that he was working on some kind of game in collaboration with somebody, and so that game was announced.
Yeah, Elden Ring, and that's pretty much all we got.
Yeah, we got a little bit of some cinematic screenplay, but it didn't give too much. But man,
I'm super excited.
Anything fantasy that Martin is
especially
working
something
on,
interactive like a video game
yes,
that you can get inside of.
Well, because we were big fans of that. We shouldn't get too far into video games.
We can't go into video games.
But
Brotherhood Without Manners, a full spoiler reread podcast of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series.
Yes. So Martin's working on a video game, and we're excited for that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
If you guys play, you should
it's probably taken away from Wind's Winter Time, but
whatever.
What isn't at this point?
I
let the guy do his
work.
thing. Yeah,
I'm excited for anything. With that, let's get into this week's chapter.
This week we are joining Arya and reading Arya 3 in A Game of Thrones. Are you reading? You should be. We pick up with Arya. She is chasing cats.
Yes.
Chasing kitty cats.
Specifically right now, a one-eared black cat. He's a savage. He's one of my favorite characters.
She's got him cornered in an alley, and she's finally got this bastard.
Yeah.
And she's telling herself, quiet as a shadow, light as a feather.
So, just for reference here shortly, I went through, and every time that she thought to herself one of Syrio Forel's little sayings or quips, I wrote it down.
So did I.
So I have a list of
I've got just about every single one as well.
Noted here. So she does it often and a variety
This is
them.
the start of something that stays with Arya.
Yes.
Up to A Dance with Dragons, where we leave her.
Check out our Mercy chapter on Patreon.
Do that.
Sorry.
And
Anyway.
so it says that chasing cats is hard work, and her hands are covered in scratches and scabs, and both knees are all scabby, and after she was scraping them in the rushes.
Yeah, initially she was having trouble even catching the fat, slow cats.
The cook's fat cattle had eluded her.
She would go to Sirio with her scrapes and cuts that first time, and she was kind of complaining, and he was...
So slow, girl. Be quicker, girl.
Your enemies will give you more than scratches. And
But then he would dab her wounds with some Mirish fire, which is exactly what it sounds like, and Arya would want to scream out, which she would, because it burned. But he would clean her cuts, which, just tells me that, like, he isn't trying to hurt this girl. He is, seeing to her wounds. He's just trying to train her.
So I really do like how little interaction we get with Sirio Farrell, but how much of his teachings we actually are seeing with her, and we'll definitely see it more towards the end, which will be fun to...
And so, yeah, this is when we learn that the Red Keep was full of cats, and one by one, Arya had chased them down, caught them, and brought them proudly back to Sirio, all but this one-eared black devil of a tomcat.
So we both know that I like cats. And that sounds like the greatest fucking thing I've ever
There
experienced.
are, like, actual theories about this cat.
Yeah.
This cat might be someone significant.
Valeria.
And, there's...
Yeah, I love this cat. I fucking
this cat is
love
pretty
this
interesting.
cat. And so I have some things to mention about that, actually. And whether he's intentionally leading her to certain places.
Is that... Because this is when we learned that one of the gold cloaks had seen her chasing this cat and told her that that's the real king of this castle right there, older than sin and twice as mean. Once the king had hosted Lord Tywin, and the bastard jumped up on the table and snatched a roasted quail from Lord Tywin's fingers, and Robert had laughed so hard he was fit to burst.
Yes. So I think that's spectacular.
This cat
is my fucking hero.
Just shit all over Tywin.
And I love that Robert loses his shit at it, thinks it's fucking hysterical. Now, I also like that the guard used the specific words, that bastard.
Yeah.
And so, while I don't subscribe to the theory that Brendan Rivers is inside of there, I do believe Brendan Rivers' Three-Eyed Raven is a bastard. And so, that's the name Rivers, for those who don't know.
Good job.
Well,
educate.
That's it. Anyway, I lost my train of thought because somebody's slapping their hand, and it threw me off.
The cat's sweet. And
he's a badass.
It seems to have this sort of knowledge of the Red Keep where and for a while now, it seems to have been fucking with people.
Yes, especially Arya's had a lot of trouble with this bastard. He's been running her.
He's been leading her all
over the castle.
Twice around the Tower of the Hand, through the stables, past the kitchens, and the barracks for the Gold Cloak, in and out of strange buildings, until Arya doesn't know where the fuck she's at anymore. She's lost as hell. But now she had him.
She thinks she's got him. He's backed up into a corner. There's a high wall right behind him. No windows for him to scrabble into. Nothing. The walls are closing in, and so she's sneaking in there. And
she's 3 steps away, and the cat bolts. And Arya tries to cut off the escape. The cat hisses at her and tries to dart between her legs. And this is when we get the next one. Quick as a snake, she thought. And her hands close around him. And she lifts him up to her chest, laughing. And ever so fast, she plants a kiss right between his eyes and quickly pulls back before his claws get
Again, I like cats. And even if they're mean, savage cats, I tend to not really care. And so I completely get her having this vicious monster cat darting in and then shooting
because it's gonna fucking burst out of it. There was a cat, Key Cat, his name was. And this cat was pretty mean to most people, but never to his owner, Nate. But Nate liked to play with this cat pretty aggressively because the cat was a little monster.
He was not a monster.
And so you would play this exact game where you would be trying to kiss him on the head and he'd be swatting at you. And that's exactly what I thought with this. It's just this is what your dumbass was doing. I'm more of a dog person. Fucking Team Direwolf. Yeah, I know you like dogs, but...
Yeah, so I love that Arya did this.
So yeah, she gives it she's just having a grand old time. She's got him. Yeah, he's not happy.
So he starts yowling. So just crying out. He's miserable now.
And suddenly there's, what's he doing to that cat? and Arya is startled. She drops the cat and turns toward the voices. The tomcat just bounces.
Like, peace, bitch.
Gets out, and Arya sees that at the end of the alley, there's a girl with a mass of golden curls, dressed as prettily as a doll in blue satin, and beside her is a plump little blonde boy.
Marcella and Tommen.
Yeah.
And so he has like some pearl embroidery of the house sigil and
a little mini sword.
I like the mini sword. That's pretty dope. But...
And so yeah, it's the prince and princess. Like,
and man, fuck these two.
Fuck everyone in this group. Damn. This whole little posse, because there's also a large
big old
septa behind them.
Yeah. Is this the septa that
Unella?
The one that takes and torments Cersei?
I know it's Unella in the show. I don't actually specifically remember if it's Unella in the books, but
I'm gonna make a note of that at some point. I'm taking your pen, suck it.
Whoa. But anyway, yeah, so there's this big, large Septon woman behind them as well, and two Lannister guardsmen in their crimson cloaks. And so they ask again, what were you doing to that cat, boy? Marcella actually asks. And then she looks to her brother and says that he's a ragged boy, isn't he? Look at him. And she starts giggling.
Uppity bitch.
Pretty much.
Fuck you.
And Tommen agrees, saying that, yeah, she's very ragged.
And a little smelly. Like, fuck you, Tommen.
And Arya thinks immediately that they don't know me, and they don't even know I'm a girl. Which is a small wonder, she realizes, because she's barefoot.
I did like how she dropped to her knee immediately.
Oh, yeah.
And, when she realizes that they don't know who she is, and she's kind of thinking about how pissed off everybody's going to be at her if they find out that she's there, and the way she's dressed, and the condition and state she's in.
Just chasing a cat all over.
Just being filthy, and...
the Septa comes forward.
Yeah.
And asks, boy... how did you come to be here? You have no business in this part of the castle. And then one of the guardsmen adds that there's no keeping this kind out. They're like rats. Yeah.
And Arya just kind of, she doesn't know what to say. She's a little freaked out. Mm-hmm. So she's kind of just keeping quiet, stumbling over her, catching her words in her throat there.
And she also thinks that if she does speak, Tommen and Marcella are going to recognize her. So she keeps quiet. And the Septa begins asking if she's mute. And she just thinks to herself, calm as still water.
Yes.
And as one of the guardsmen, Godwyn, who the Septa tells to go fetch her, as Godwyn reaches in for her, Arya moves and thinks again, quick as a snake. And she spins around him as his fingers are brushing by her arm. And she thinks, smooth as summer silk.
I love how... because I don't think she really understood that he was teaching her this kind of... combat, technically, like, to be used in this way.
Yeah.
Where she's just applying his teachings to her situation right there.
Well, yeah, that's it. It's all situational.
And
use it to escape.
It's like Mr. Miyagi just showing these little subtle things to teach you. I'm sure that reference has been made in the past. But, yeah, where she's now just dancing around him. And it's...
And then by the time he spins around, Arya is sprinting down the alley, swift as a deer.
And then she does this dope-ass baseball slide.
Yeah, this is like her fucking signature move, man. The Septa is screeching at her, and Arya just slides down to her knees and bounds up to her feet, bowling right into Prince Tommen. Oof. As she knocks him down on his ass. And Arya spins past the second guard, rushing past them all, and just begins sprinting full out past them.
So
she just escaped like
two guards,
a Septa,
in an alley,
cornered.
And then, as she's running, she hears the pounding footsteps behind her.
Yeah,
and just ducks and rolls out.
She does a little tuck and roll,
and he kind of bounds out, reaching for her, stumbles, and she bounds up again. As she's bounding up, she looks and notices that there's
narrow
little window, barely like an arrow slit,
but she can squeeze through.
And so she hops up, pulls herself up, squeezes through, and she really has to suck in.
And we get another one, slippery as an eel.
Slippery as an eel was a cool one.
Yeah, and she wiggles her way in,
drops down,
running, runs down some stairs.
Yeah, so she scared the shit out of a cleaning woman right there when she dropped in. But yeah, she's just booking it
through another window into a pitch dark cellar, and Arya's out of breath at this point and thoroughly lost. And she doesn't think she was recognized, though. She thinks that they probably think it was just some beggar kid who snuck in and was going to kill the cat to eat or something.
Yeah, and so she
hunkers.
decides that she's going to
chill, catch her breath, and
make sure nobody's following her, see if she's, got some time. And it's dark in there. So.
It's super dark. So all she can hear is her own heart racing and the dripping of water. And she thinks that when she had first come to King's Landing, she would dream about getting lost in the castle. And her father had said that the Red Keep was smaller than Winterfell, but in her dreams it was always immense, like an endless stone maze. This reminded me of Jon Snow dreaming of Winterfell.
So I wrote down this quote here, because most of it, that she would have dreams of getting lost in King's Landing, an endless stone maze with walls that shift and change. In some rooms, the red stone walls would seem to drip blood, and that there were no windows anywhere. And then sometimes she would hear her father's voice, and as hard as she would try to find it, it would just keep growing fainter and fainter. And 100% reminded me of Jon's dreams going through King's Landing. I don't know if it's saying, this is somewhere they don't feel they belong. Because as we mentioned, we kind of felt
didn't feel like he belonged.
Yeah, he had no right to be going down in the crypts
which,
there.
Based on what we know of Jon Snow, would make sense with his parentage, that kind of feeling. But Arya having it in King's Landing absolutely makes sense of this isn't where you belong at all.
And it's, it maybe, is it a little bit foreshadowing of when, that Ned's going to be gone. That's
it. She's not, you're going to be searching this castle for your father, and he's not there anymore. Absolutely. So she hugs her knees to her chest and decides to just count to 10,000, and then by then it'll be safe to go.
Yeah. She makes it to 87.
Holy shit, counting to 10,000.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's a long time, and to have the concentration to do so. And so she gets to 87 when her eyes begin to adjust to the room in the cellar, and some dark shapes around her begin to take on form.
She sees empty eyes staring at her through the gloom, and dimly sees jagged rows of sharp teeth.
What?
Yeah, fucking A. She's in the cellars where the dragon skulls are kept, the previous dragon skulls.
But to just be dropping into this dark cellar and all of a sudden they just start appearing. Fuck that.
Yeah, man. No, and she's so young that, it's terrifying. So she closes her eyes and tries to send the fear away.
Yes.
And she thinks that when she looks again, the monsters would be gone. So she pretends Syrio is here, whispering to her, telling her calm as still water, strong as a bear, fierce as a wolverine. Just all these little fucking sweet mantras.
Fear cuts deeper than swords.
Yeah. So she opens her eyes, and the monsters are still there, but the fear is gone.
Yes.
And
because she kept saying she put the fear aside, and that's going to be a big thing for her. And how she develops as a character is learning to start realizing what she should be scared of as opposed to what's actually there.
Yeah, and take a truer look. Don't just react to it. And, This is a monster, but it can't hurt you anymore. It's scary, but it's only scary because it looks scary. It can't actually do anything. You can still escape
It's funny because she will forget that here in just a second.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
but
she's still a little girl.
She's moving slowly, and she touches the massive jaw, feeling it. It's cold and hard, and she runs her finger down a sharp tooth and describes it as a dagger made of darkness, which I thought was great. And she tells herself aloud, "It's dead. It's just a skull. It can't hurt me." She's still 8. She's still trying to talk herself down.
This part really gets me because she said she could feel its empty eyes watching her, and through the gloom, and there was something in the dim, cavernous room that did not love her.
Yeah.
Now, maybe it's me being fucking wild and tinfoily like I tend to do. Garrett is cold hands. And with her association in the future with the Faceless Men and their known issues with dragons, do you think that there's something in the magic of the dragons and them there that are kind of responding or reacting? Or
I think if there was anywhere in Westeros besides like Dragonstone that dragons would have significance, I would say it would be the Dragon Pit, because that's sort of where they died. And so I could almost feel there being some residual dragon magic that, because I subscribe to the theory that Arya may be the one to blow King's Landing in the end with her Faceless Men training. It's such a, King's Landing ends up representing, obviously, we say it every episode, we're a full spoiler review podcast. To me, King's Landing in Arya's eyes ends up representing a place where she lost everything. Her family was wrenched from her in the form of Sansa being married to Joffrey, Ned being beheaded.
Even Syrio Forel, her mentor
Syrio
and
Forel
tutor.
was attacked by Meryn Trant. She was ripped away and sent with Yoren up to the Night's Watch. And then from there, everything just unfolded. And so if she ever returns, Cersei, the Mountain are both on her list. And King's Landing itself is just going to be such a bitter memory
sour place
that I could see her detonating the wildfire.
Sure.
And with the Ghost of Highheart, she even claims that, you know, there's some terrifying shit for Arya. And by the point that Ghost of Highheart meets Arya really, she's killed a few men, but not enough.
And even, you know, if you factor in, you know, if she were to retaliate on the phrase, if she were to get even 100 kills over there in Bravos where she's training and stuff, it's not like the Ghost of Highheart hasn't talked to soldiers. And
well, that's it. Arya, when the Ghost of Highheart is talking to her, Arya's with the Brotherhood Without Manners. Banners.
Their banners were manners.
Their banners. Yeah, she's with the Brotherhood Without Banners, who have definitely killed more people
and
than her
looted
at that
and
point.
pillaged and been pretty savage
so
dudes
there's
in general.
something in the future that Arya does that's
just
claims
brutal.
a lot of lives, I would assume. So
unless she's just seeing the
anyway,
death, but
we are so far off track. We apologize. Pulling it back. So yeah, I feel like Arya is not welcome in a King's Landing. There's something,
yes. and especially with those around the
and
dragon
it could
skulls.
even be something as simple as Arya's intuition of she doesn't belong here.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like the old god,
well,
the
that's
old
it,
blood
which
in
may
her.
also push her towards the faceless men.
Yeah,
who have that.
That's it. You need to be elsewhere, and this is your path. So she edges away from the skull,
and if she backs away from that one,
perfect horror
great.
movie scene where she backs into a bigger one, and it's an oh shit.
And the tooth catches from that one on her.
It freaks her out,
and she loses.
She's so close to one. Like she delicately approached the first one, and then she backs into one, and suddenly it's there right in front of her.
After she just finished talking herself down,
she loses
from the first
her composure,
and she books it. She runs,
but its teeth catches into her shoulder as if it wanted a bite of human flesh. So she whirls, and her leather catches and rips as the huge fang rips into her jerkin, and then she's just booking it. And she sees another skull looming in front of her, the biggest of all. But she doesn't slow. She leaps over a ridge of black teeth, and through her, they were tall as swords. She dashes through the hungry jaws and ends up throwing herself against a door. Now, is that foreshadowing?
Jumping into the jaws of the dragon, the mouth of the dragon.
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Could you imagine Arya going out in that way, like leaping into the to make a killing blow or something, just
diving into the mouth of a dragon?
I mean, at this point,
that or heading, head on against Fagon or Dany.
That's it.
Target,
just leaping at the, Fagon, Dany at the dragon. That felt very foreshadowing really to me. But she throws herself against this door. It resists for a minute, and then it swings inward. With a creak so loud that she's certain the whole city fucking hears it, but she slips through. She only opens it enough to slip through.
And now, this room that she enters here is even darker than the last one.
Yeah.
Like, by far.
She says that she compares it to the blackest pit in the seven hells, which, like, all right, Arya, chill.
Granted, she just escaped this room with dragon skulls.
Definitely. Which she still doesn't know that's what they are. She's still just they're monsters. Yeah, they're just monsters in the dark. But calm as still water, she reminds herself. But she realizes that even as her eyes adjust, there's nothing to see. She holds up her hands in front of her, and John Cena's "You Can't See Me," and she can't see shit.
Not shit.
So it says she was blind, which, I mean, holy fucking shit. She, that's part of her training.
Right.
Is she goes blind. She's blinded by the faceless men.
And so she's already experienced this.
And she thinks to Syrio telling her, a water dancer sees with all her senses.
Yeah. And
she closes her eyes because they're useless at this point. And she begins feeling the wall and following her way.
And so that's it. And so, I've seen... I've argued with people about her being too quick to learn the stuff she does with the faceless men and how she is, but it's like
she's doing it.
She's clearly always been capable, and she's.
I think that's why she's welcomed at the House of Blood.
It's because she's got a knack for
this stuff. a decent talent when she comes in. She survives what she survives before even getting there, and she's fucking 8.
Yeah,
this girl is intelligent, she's clever, she's strong-willed, she's an amazingly strong person. Like, she's got skills that most people do not have. Most adults I know would fucking shrivel up and cry at.
I would shrivel up.
That's what I mean. Like,
I wouldn't, probably.
Down in these dungeons, shit's scary. Her father losing his head, all the shit she goes through later on. So, Arya's just, she's something else. It's amazing.
So, so she follows this wall down, just using her other senses, since she can't see.
And she thinks to herself, all halls lead somewhere. Where there is a way in, there is a way out. Fear cuts deeper than swords. So this is one of just a funner question, and I think Martin did it intentionally. At what point do you think Arya just starts making up these mantras? Because I feel like this one is situational, and I feel like this is her own. All halls lead somewhere,
and that's why I wrote down
why
the
would
list.
Sirio tell her that? You know?
Yeah, so that's why I made a specific list of them. Was because I was curious as to how many different ones she had.
Yeah.
Now, this is when I made a note of it, funny enough, that when is this all occurring? Like, we know she's chasing a cat, we get that, and, we have maybe a rough estimate of the time of day, but we don't know where in the storyline, where in correlation with Ned is she in her story? Where is Catelyn and Stark at this point in Arya's, point of view chapter? And
we get that at the end. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so right now we don't know how much training she's actually done with Sirio.
Yeah.
And so she's had enough time to catch almost every cat. Every cat but one. In all of the castle. In all the Red Keep.
So is it taking a long time, or is Arya quick? And
that's it.
Quick
and so I don't think that it's crazy to think that these are all words that have come out of his mouth currently. But
I don't think it is either. But it's an interesting question.
It's definitely fun to think about, especially going forward. Because now that I
definitely think list, the one she clings to, fear cuts deeper than swords. Calm as still water. Like those
smooth
kind
as
of things.
Summer silk.
Those kind of things I think definitely came from him. But all halls lead somewhere. Where there is a way in, there is a way out.
I definitely feel like maybe he combined that and the sword. Fear cuts deeper than swords.
She's just
those were separate, but no, I could definitely see her coming up with her own.
Yeah, she would situationally make some up, but I digress. It's not really important. Anyway, she's feeling her way along, and suddenly the wall ends abruptly. And she's been walking for a while down this hallway, and suddenly the wall ends, and she feels a draft of cold air, and from somewhere far, far below her, she can hear the scrape of boots and distant voices, and she begins to see a flickering light that lights the wall enough for her to see that she's at the top of a great black well looking down. And there's huge stones that are in the circular wall going down like steps, and they were as dark as the steps to hell that old Nan used to tell them of.
Yeah.
Fucking Nan.
Nan.
Come on, lady.
So and I'm gonna bring up Nan again later, but I love that woman in the story she's telling. So she looks down in the well and does see that that's where the flickering light's coming from, is a torch carried by one of two men that are currently climbing up these steps of hell. Yeah,
so we get thrust into their conversation sort of mid-talk.
Yes, so full spoiler again.
Varys and Illyrio, Mopatis.
What up, dogs?
So we get found one bastard, the rest will come soon, Varys says. And Illyrio asks him, and when he learns the truth, what will he do? And Arya recognizes his accent of the Free Cities.
Liquid accents of the Free Cities.
It's similar to Braavos.
Exactly.
It's similar to Sirio. Yeah. She's got that comparison. Mm-hmm. So And Varys answers that the gods alone know. And he says that the fools tried to kill his son, and what's worse, they made a mummer's farce of it. He's not a man to put that aside. I warn you, the wolf and the lion will soon be at each other's throats, whether we will it to or not.
So now here we get that Varys thinks that it is the Lannisters, specifically, who sent...
He's not aware that Littlefinger...
Yes, and he'll mention Littlefinger a bit here as well, that we get that, but...
Illyrio starts bitching. It's too soon. Too soon. We're not ready. What good is war now? Delay. And Varys says that you may as well bid me to stop time. Do you take me for a wizard? And the other one chuckles and says, no less.
Yeah, no less.
So Arya sees the two men begin to climb into sight at this point, and she creeps back, drops to her stomach, and holds her breath as they reach the top. And Varys asks, what would you have me do? And he is in his mummer's disguise, we get at this point, because he's a stout man in a leather half cape with heavy boots.
Now, this isn't what he was wearing when he met with Ned? I'm
pretty sure.
Yeah, and so now, does that mean that that's where he just came from? I feel like we're further ahead.
It's a little later.
I think, yeah, that's what I was going to say. I feel like this is further ahead in time than that was, so they've gotten a bit ahead there.
But she notices that his feet seem to glide soundlessly over the ground, and Arya thinks that there is something oddly familiar about him, but she can't put her finger on it.
So actually, absolutely, this is afterwards, because he has right here the knowledge that Cat was taken, and somebody had to get him that message, and Yoren is just now. So think about that. Yoren is just now. He's one of the first ones that he thinks to get to Ned with the news. Great, I'm jumping ahead just for this bit. If he's one of the first ones there, and Varys already knows, who the fuck there did he get that information from already? Because it's going to be another few hours yet before she goes and sees Ned
Illyrio, because what the fuck is Illyrio doing actually in King's Landing?
True story.
What is important? This conversation is important enough to warrant Illyrio to take ship from fucking Bravos to the Free Cities?
Yeah, so I've always wondered what he's doing there.
Yeah, so why did they need to meet face to face is a huge question about what the fuck's going on. So, yeah, Arya just...
so I really like she noticed that even dressed in those heavy boots, his feet glided soundlessly over the ground. He made no sound, even though he's dressed in these stocky.
It's heavy. He should be stomping around. Yeah, and he says, Illyrio says that if one hand can die, why not a second? And this is when Arya sees that he's got a forked yellow beard and he's got the accent.
Yes, she also sees Varys' face, and she knows that there's something familiar about it, and she just doesn't know what. She has no clue who Illyrio is. Yeah, no. But there's something familiar about Varys, even though he's in his mummer's disguise. She's picking up on that. Ned was inches away from him and almost couldn't.
Yeah.
Arya's doing that from the shadows 20 feet away without realizing it, that she's seeing through that mask.
But she's absolutely certain that she's never seen the other one, the fat one, and she says grossly fat, yet he seemed to walk lightly, carrying his weight on the balls of his feet, much like a water dancer might.
Yes.
So that's interesting, that Illyrio is maybe a little quicker on his feet than we're originally anticipating, coming from Bravos. Maybe he's got some sort of training of his own and could pull out some crazy shit.
So Varys talks, he says, one hand is different than another hand, and so Ned's not the one he'll be killing.
Well, Illyrio had mentioned that you've danced this dance before. Right. And he says before is not now, and this hand is not the other. And she just, they're coming closer to her, and she thinks still as a stone, quiet as a shadow. Yeah. And it says that blinded by their own torch, which makes sense. They've got this, it's so dark in here
that it's very bright.
They've got the light,
face.
So they can't really see beyond the light of the fire, so they don't see her, and even though they only pass a few feet away. And it says that, nonetheless, we must have time. The princess is with child. This is Illyrio. The princess is with child. The call will not bestir himself until his son is born. You know how they are, these savages. Which is interesting to me, because Varys claims to be for the realm, and I know the realm is Westeros, but he claims to sort of do it for the good of the people, but aren't people? Like, just the fact that the Dothraki are savages. They're like...
And, that was Illyrio that said that. Mm-hmm. And so he's definitely got that contempt.
Well, that's it. If they're working together toward the same end, as I think
that he has that...
that sort of mutual respect of everyone. But they pause at something, and the man with the torch does something. Varys does something, and
presses something.
Arya hears a rumbling as a huge slab of rock slides down out of the ceiling with a resounding crash that almost makes her cry out. And where the entry to the well was is nothing but solid stone,
completely covered up,
which is fucking crazy.
Awesome. Awesome.
And it says that if he does not bestir himself soon, it may be too late. This is Varys talking. This is no longer a game for two players, if ever it was. Stannis Baratheon and Lysa Arryn have fled beyond my reach. The whispers say they are gathering swords around them, which is, we're starting to get set up for book 2. And
so he's saying the whispers, he's talking about, his specific people than
the people
spies
he's
that
got
are
placed
getting in.
around, his little
Yeah.
birds. And he talks about how the Knight of the Flowers has been writing Highgarden, urging his father to send his sister Marjorie to court.
Yes.
Because she's beautiful and she's a maid of 18 and
14.
14,
And
not 18.
Loris and Renly are trying to marry her to Robert.
Yeah,
so
and
that
make a
they
new
can
queen.
have a new queen, right.
And gods only know what game Littlefinger is playing.
Yes.
Varys has no knowledge.
So now he says
currently.
this, but then he also will mention he blames Cat taking Tyrion on Littlefinger.
Yeah. Oh,
And so
we'll
he's
get to
aware of
that
that,
here
yeah, and
shortly,
so-
because he
but
says,
yeah.
yet it's, so gods only know what game Littlefinger's playing, yet it is Lord Stark is the one who
keeps
troubles
him,
my
yeah,
sleep.
like
He has the book, he has the bastard, and soon enough he'll have the truth. And now his wife has abducted Tyrion Lannister
yeah,
thanks
and
to
he says-
Littlefinger's
and he's
meddling.
sure that Tywin's going to be outraged, and that Jaime's clearly not going to be thrilled because he has a soft spot for Tyrion.
And that if the Lannisters move north, the Tullys are sure to get involved as well. And this is, I think, one of the best Varys lines. Delay, you say. Make haste, I reply. Even the finest juggler cannot keep 100 balls in the air forever. And Illyrio responds with, you're more than a juggler, old friend. You are a true sorcerer.
Now, do you... this is like the third time he's been referred
to as magically inclined?
Yes. Do you think that's like completely as a red herring, like he is against magic entirely, or do you think
I think it's see again I hate it that I do it because I can't remember. It's been so long since my last read through of if we get it in the book of how Varys was cut. And so if it's the same as in the show where it was the sorcerer who threw his parts in the brazier and all that, then I could see this being as a slight dig between old friends where like he's truly appraising his talents, like but just
comparing
kind
him
of
to these people that he
detests. Like you work magic, and that's what he says. I don't ask you for much. Just keep working your magic for a little bit longer. Just delay a little bit longer.
And he tells him he'll do it what he can with what he has, but that he's going to need gold.
Yeah.
And he's going to need 50 birds.
Another 50 birds.
And he says make sure they're young this time.
So, for some reason, and it popped in my head when I was reading it, when he said I must have gold, my first thought was, for what? And then my second thought was, is he asking for payment? Like, is he asking Illyrio? Like, is this Illyrio's plot? And he's asking, like...
Oh, see, I've
never done that
You
either.
kind of automatically assume that he needs money to spend to further their needs.
Bribe people, whatever. I need gold to do this, to delay.
Yeah,
like,
you're gonna
you
put me in this
want to
situation?
delay, you need to pay me more.
Like, is he benefiting himself?
And I need, because it's sort of a demand. I must have gold and another 50 birds, like, to do what you want me to do. So, like, this is the first time in a read through where I've been like, is he asking for payment for services rendered?
And so, Varys also mentions that they need to have no tongues. It's too risky for them to keep their tongues. The children are the little birds. I don't think I actually said that.
Yeah.
And so Illyrio clearly recruits the spies, the children that are referred to as the little birds for Varys. And Varys wants their tongues out. He needs them taught how to read, and it's too risky for them to be able to talk. And that's that. Arya decides, because they're walking down a tunnel at this point, while they're discussing this, she starts slowly creeping behind.
Yeah, they're getting further and further ahead of her.
And she's, allowing that so that she can still creep quiet as a shadow. And she's not having any difficulties, following them, because there's only one way to go, even when their torch loses its flicker to her eye.
Yeah. So she's blind again.
Right. And eventually, she's not hearing any more from them, so she just follows the tunnel all the way down till she hits the mouth of a sewer.
She finds herself pretending that Nymeria was with her in the
dark.
Oh, yeah,
I forgot.
Padding along beside her. And yeah, it says that it was full dark when she emerges into the night air, and she's standing at the mouth of a sewer. She was walking in knee-deep water. Yeah. There was sewage.
That empties out into the river.
And it says that she stank so badly that she stripped right there and dove into the dark waters, and she swam until she felt clean. And then she starts scrubbing out her clothes, because gross. a couple guardsmen ride by her. They don't seem to recognize her or care that she's there, so she seems like she's all good. And she says that she was miles from the castle, but in King's Landing, one only needed to look up to see the Red Keep on Aegon's High Hill.
So she makes her way there.
Yeah, and her clothes are almost dry by the time she reaches the gatehouse. The portcullis is down, the gates are barred, so she goes
Here comes another fucking badass Arya moment.
Yeah, the gold cloaks sneered at her when she told them to let her in. Off with ya. We'll have no begging after dark. The kitchens are closed, the scraps are gone. Get the fuck away. And Arya says, I'm not a beggar. I live here, motherfucker.
Get my dad.
And yeah, he says, I set off with you. Do you need a clout on the ear to help your hearing? And she says, I want to see my father. And the older one, who I really actually like the scene because at first the older one seems like the sort of more wizened of the two.
Yeah.
And he says, who's this father of yours? The city rat catcher? And Arya says, the hand of the king. And they both laugh. And then the older one just swings at her like a man would swat a dog. But Arya sees it coming from a mile away.
Yeah, and I like that she says that she saw it before he even started the attack.
Yeah.
And then she just danced away. And so I don't think that it's even her jumping back. It's
a graceful little,
it's just like a side step or like, you know.
And she dances back untouched and says, I'm Arya Stark of Winterfell, and if you lay a hand on me, my lord father will have both your heads on spikes.
Yes, I'm not a boy. I'm Arya Stark of Winterfell.
Fetch Jory Cassel or Veon Poole if you don't believe me. Now, are you going to open the gate, or do you need a clout on the ear to help your hearing?
Yeah.
Bam.
And then we get a little time jump.
Yep, time jump.
And Fat Tom is escorting her with Harwin into Ned's solar, where he's sitting all by himself.
He's got a little oil lamp, just a little pool of darkness, like a little pool of light in the darkness.
And he's hunched all over the book.
Hunched over the book, the biggest book Arya has ever seen. But he closed it to listen to Harwin's report of probably fetching Arya, the gold cloaks, and that whole nonsense. And his face was stern as he sent the men away with his thanks. And he tells her that I had half my guard out looking for you.
And Septim Ordain has been beside herself, that she's been at the sept praying for your safe return.
And he says that you're never to go beyond the gates without my leave. And this is when she says, I didn't mean to go beyond the gates. I didn't really know I did. I was in the dungeons chasing kitty cats. Like she wants to fill him in and says, so I didn't have a torch. It was dark, so I had to follow. And it just sort of
steamrolls, pours out of it. And then she starts talking about the two men, but I couldn't
go back on account of the monsters. The father, they were talking about killing you, not the monsters, the two men. But they didn't see me because I was being quiet as a snake and still as a shadow.
And so she just kind of starts jumbling the facts.
They said you had a book and a bastard, and if one hand could die, why not a second? Is that the book? Is John's the bastard?
And that throws him off.
And that told John, Arya, he asks, what are you talking about? Who said all this? And she says there was a fat one with rings and a forked yellow beard, and another in mail and a steel cap. The fat one said they had to delay, and the wolf and the lion were going to eat each other. And yeah, it's just all mixed up for her at this point.
Which is so unfortunate.
She's trying to tell him, and she says that the fat one said the princess was with child. He was the one in the cap. I think he was a wizard.
And so this is where I wanted to mention Septim Ordain, because Ned's like, oh, a wizard. Did he wear a big pointy hat and have it covered in stars? Like, even in this...
Yeah, they've got the Merlin type.
They've got that over-the-top wizard, like, with a damn starry night hat, and Septim Ordain's the one spreading the fucking toils.
Old Nan.
It's Old Nan, I meant.
Yeah, Arya gets pissed, and she's like, no, not like Old Nan's stories. The fat one said he was. And this is what Ned says. I like, Arya, I warn you, like, if you're spinning thread from thin air.
Yeah, and she starts telling him, like, no, they said that they did this, and it
in
was
the
all
dungeons,
by
the secret wall, like, I was chasing cats, and then she thinks of Prince Tommen and how pissed her father would be if he knew she knocked him down. And she says, I went into a window, and that's where I found the monsters. And he says, monsters and wizards. Yeah, so you had quite a journey.
So with the wizards and the monsters he finally chalks it up to, like, you said that they talked about dragons. You said they talked about, know that there's...
Juggling and mummery.
Right, and you know that there's mummers all over for the tournament here, trying to make a pretty penny.
Make coin, yeah. They were probably in the castle.
You're seeing mummers, that's it. And she's getting ready to defend and argue that that's not the case when... Desmond interrupts.
Well, he tells her, you shouldn't be following and spying on people in the first place, and I really don't like the thought of my daughter climbing through random windows after stray cats.
He says he's going to have a word.
And he says, look at you, you're covered in scratches. Tell Sirio that I want to have a word with him. And that's when there's a knock, and Desmond pokes his head, and he's like, yo, what up, Ned? Sorry to interrupt, homie, but, like, there's a black brother from the Night's Watch here begging your audience, and he says it's pretty urgent, and Ned, courteous as ever, my door is always open to the Night's Watch. And so Desmond lets the guy in, and he's stooped and ugly. And it's Yoren. And even though he looks gross and he's unkempt,
we got that same description from Tyrion's chapter way back in Tyrion 1.
Ned greets him pleasantly and asks for his name, and he introduces himself, Yoren, as it please, my lord, and he begs pardon for the hour, and then he bows to Arya and says that this must be your son. He has your look. And Arya gets pissed and exasperated.
I'm Arya Stark.
Because she's been dealing with that all day.
And then she just goes into this, you're from the Night's Watch, so you came from Winterfell. And how are Bran and Jon?
Do you know my brothers at Winterfell and Jon on the Wall?
And all these, how are they
He's
doing?
in the Night's Watch. You must know him.
And just bombards him. And Ned's like, all right, my daughter forgets her courtesies.
Yeah.
My bad.
Well, it's kind of sweet because she's just asking, like, if I wrote a letter, would you bring it back to Jon?
Yeah,
like,
it's just
she's just trying to figure out, like, what's kind of going on here.
It's just so sad to think that this is their meeting point.
Yeah, she wishes that Jon was here now because she knows he'd believe her about the dungeons and the monsters and the wizards. So, yeah, Ned, it says that he says my daughter often forgets her courtesies, but it was said with a smile that softened it. Like he knows it's just Arya. Like she's excited.
And that's it. Like I think that part of that is why Yoren mistaking her for a boy, and then he's going to
we should
force her into that.
Like we should fucking skirt right here, because Ned is a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
For not listening to Arya and just dismissing.
Well, it's just hearing
the princess is with child. Why would she, like, if Ned sat down and thought about that, that would obviously be reference to Dany.
Well, yeah,
and why the fuck would Arya have any knowledge of that?
Exactly.
The book, the bastard, Ned literally just went and found Gendry.
Right.
And so, yes, Jon thing
is that the book? Is that the book that they're talking about? Is that the
book? So, someone knows you have the book. The lion and the wolf are going to eat each other. Yeah. Like, that's a pretty obvious one. Like... Yeah, I understand, because it actually really reminded me of Jude, your son, talking to him and getting some of his crazy stories.
Yeah,
like,
that's wild.
I understand that picking it out from a child is hard to do, but when they're coming at you with some stuff that is way above where they should even be getting random knowledge from, like
then
secret shit,
in on something.
Then they ran into something, and you should obviously listen. But anyway... Yoren is just kind of staring at her like he doesn't know what the fuck to make of her, but it's pretty great. But Ned asks, did Benjen send you, my brother Benjen? And Yoren says that no one sent me, my lord, except for old Commander Mormont, because he's supposed to go and bend the knee to Robert.
I really, really like this, what he says about Benjen, that his blood runs black. Benjen's my brother as much as he is your brother.
It's for your sake.
It's for his sake that I rode here as fast as I could to get here before the others.
I nearly killed my horse, but I left the others behind, he said. And Ned asked the others, and he tells them, sell swords and free riders. The inn was full of them. And as soon as the shit went down, they got the scent. Some of blood and some of gold. And I'm sure some riders rode immediately for Casterly Rock.
Well, so he said not everybody headed here to King's Landing. Yeah, so Tywin is aware already.
Yeah, you bet your bottom fucking dollar that Tywin's already aware.
He says that...
Word.
Ned asks what, and he's like, we need to talk in private about it.
Eyeing Arya, yeah.
And so Ned tells Arya, kisses her goodnight, and excuses her.
Tells Desmond to see her to her chambers.
And she is immediately like, is something bad happened to Jon or to Bran or something?
Benjen.
And he's like, as far as I know...
Yoren answer, and that's what I like, is even at the wall, he answers Jon and Tyrion pretty straightforward. Like, he says, as to Stark, I can't say. He doesn't know what's going on with Benjen. But the Snow Boy, which I liked, the Snow Boy was basically well enough when I last saw him. It's not them that concern me. And so this is when Desmond takes her hand and says, come on, you heard your Lord Father, little lady, let's go. And so Arya has no choice, and she wishes it was Fat Tom, because with Fat Tom, she could find an excuse to linger at the door and listen. Fat Tom. So do I.
Because I want to hear exactly, like, from Arya's point of view.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It would be so
what
awesome.
she would think. And so, but Desmond is too single-minded to be tricked.
And so she starts asking him questions. Is father safe?
So that, I think, is important that she notices that Desmond's too single-minded to be tricked, because she sizes up her father's guard and knows who she can get away with what. So with this, she's going to take a different tactic. So, like, she can't listen to what Yorn and her father are saying. She's still, now she goes back to the monsters and the killing of her father.
Well, this is cool, because it's going to, being single-minded, it's going to put that idea in his head. Maybe I should keep an extra sharp eye on that. Why is she do an extra guard? Yeah, like, that's, maybe we should.
So, yeah, she asks, how many guards does my father have here? And he says, here in King's Landing, 50. And she says, you wouldn't let anyone kill him, right? And he says, no fear on that count, with that many lady. People. He's guarded day and night. He'll come to no harm. And she says that the Lannisters have more than 50 men. And this is when we get the boasting, the answer, so they do, but every northerner is worth 10 of these southern swords, so sleep easy. And she asks, but what if a wizard comes to kill him? And Desmond says, as to that, and he draws out his longsword and says, wizards die.
Can I just say, Roderick would be pissed.
Right? Do not unsheathe your steel unless you mean to use it. But he says, wizards die, same as other men, once you cut their heads off. And that is where Arya's chapter ends. So, Desmond, that's a bit of an overreaction. Yeah. Like, seek some medical help, please. Because, holy shit. But, Arya is so good. So good. Yeah, it's like, the violence that she's around, even in these early, like with Desmond, like just that reaction to it. She shouldn't be seeing that, and hearing that type of stuff. And so it's a shame that Ned doesn't listen. I know he's got a ton on his plate, but Arya was sort of handing him some answers.
So that's Yoren gives us the idea of how much time has passed.
Well, he rode hard.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So because we know that it took like a week and a half or 2 weeks for Kat and Roderick to get to from the King's Landing to the inn at the crossroads. And that's two of them kind of trying to be...
he took 3-4 days.
So, yeah, he rode hard. Tywin, somebody's going to ride hard to get that money from Tywin first.
To be first.
To be the first person to give him that info, and it's Tywin Lannister. He's going to have money. And,
did you have more on that point?
Just that means that Arya's been doing some training with, Syrio for a couple weeks to a couple months.
Good while, probably, yeah. Yeah, so, why... Oh, man. So why does Illyrio... Why aren't they ready? Like, what is it?
So I think that
Is it because Fagon?
I think a lot of it has to do with, Fagon not being ready, but what it is he's not ready because he's going to marry Dany to have the extra Targaryen rule.
Well, at this point, Dany is married. She's
right,
to
Drogon.
And so, but what,
Drogo.
like, what?
No, and so I think it's that they don't have all their ships
but what
in a
is,
row
but like, what is
for the fall of all the houses?
Is he? Yeah, but what is Illyrio? Because if Illyrio is after Fagon ruling, what is he? Why does Dany being with child and the calls waiting and not be stirring?
Because they still do need.
So like, is that it? Is Dany just a attack? Like the Dothraki attack just to attack, and then here comes Fagon to swoop in and save the day, or? Is there more of a plan with Viserys and Dany? Is Viserys just a piece of shit now?
See, now
I
remember posing this similar question to you a while back. That if Illyrio is invested in Fagon, what's his?
Well, like we know he is based on a Dance with Dragons,
right? Well, that's at that point, and it's assuming it was in
his son, and it's his son probably.
Assuming it was in Martin's mind at this point in Game of Thrones.
How could it?
Right. Yeah. Fagon specifically. And so I think that it's, again, I feel like it's about establishing the control, and he has such a air quote bond with Dany for the assistance that he's not expecting much from Viserys. That's what we've discussed, is why would he even send
he
Viserys
offered the
along
man
and
to
stuff.
chill.
But he's not expecting him to actually come through with anything. And so they've got Phagon to come and clean up after Dany heads over with the Dothraki. And I don't think that they're expecting her to maintain any control.
Yeah, but I can only see them introducing the Dothraki to have it be like Phagon is the hero who comes in and saves him from these savages, as he
right. That's true. I guess
the Dothraki are gonna wreck some shit. Sorry, I just bumped the thing.
That scared me.
But Dothraki are just gonna wreck shit. Like they will tear Westeros down, and Phagon doesn't want to rule like destroyed Westeros. So like. I'm just curious as to what his plan is. So why is the princess being pregnant significant in Illyrio and Varys's? And listeners, if you know, please write us in, because Varys and Illyrio are two of my favorite schemers in the whole book series. And
so I definitely think, and I've made you aware of this, that I think that King's Landing is going to burn.
I do as well.
I think that Dany will be the cause of it, but as I've mentioned, I've recently been reading and discovering some, and I agree that I feel it's possible that Phagon will gain control of one of the dragons, and the sparking of the fire that causes the destruction of King's Landing, while you mentioned Arya, and while that even could still be a factor in it, I think it'll be Dany and Phagon fighting over King's Landing with each other,
doggy.
Which could
Dragons
be
2.
really cool.
2.
Exactly.
Part Deuce.
You know, Duke. I just think it would be pretty wild, because then I don't know, it could just be fucking wild, man. Who knows?
Anyway,
those are our thoughts.
Varys and Illyrio are just amazing.
They're masters. They're great at what they do. Well, that's what's crazy though, is they still don't know what Littlefinger's.
That's it. Are they good at what they do?
Can I also point out though, Littlefinger doesn't know what the fuck Littlefinger's up to.
Littlefinger is just loving life.
And so, because Littlefinger knows that it wasn't his dagger and Robert had it, and that Jaime and the Imp had nothing to do with it, like...
Yeah, he's just pissing everywhere and just loving it.
Right, and people are just falling for it. So, who's your inductee?
I'm thinking I'm going to say Varys, just because I think Illyrio's making some pretty bold demands of him to delay...
Yeah.
The War of the Five Kings that's about to occur. And knowing how close Robert is to death, which he just warned Ned about, we're gathering. He warned Ned relatively recently that Robert's going to die soon. Like, they're going to make another attempt on his life. And once that happens, there is nothing stopping this from fucking exploding. And so, Illyrio asking him to prevent that, one... with how much conviction Illyrio asks him, like, that he could get it done. If there's one man in the realms that could delay this, it's you. So I just think it's a great glimpse at these two and their widespread actual plans.
I do like also that we find out, regardless of what fashion it is, that he has access to funds that the crown does not.
Mm-hmm.
And so
he's got an outside benefactor, so he can borrow whatever he needs, I'm sure, for the crown.
Well, especially because it's purely
he's the master of whispers,
exactly.
So him getting, but he's got little birds that the crown doesn't know about.
Right, exactly, and that's exactly it.
So who's yours?
Mine is the one-eared black cat.
Arya's new best friend.
Like, we needed to have a dope-ass cat hanging around, scaring off intruders.
So just a shotgun out of the ball. Who's in the cat? What does the cat represent? What is it? Who's in it? I think it's one of the old Targaryen kings.
I don't think that there's... I think he's representative of, I don't know, man. There's just so much shit that I hate.
The feralness of King's Landing. The nastiness of ruling. You suck.
I think, because a lot of it has to do with Arya and her journey on becoming a badass, and almost like, because she caught him and he didn't get to take it to Syrio, and so it's almost like he's this unobtainable obstacle that she succeeded.
Trophy she didn't get.
She succeeded, and so she reached that goal, but she didn't quite completely complete it. And I don't think that matters to Syrio. The point of the fact isn't showing him the cat, it's understanding that you learned the lessons
and you was able to catch it.
But I'm gonna cheat and say that.
All right,
but
you're
so
lame.
Make sure you guys have any thoughts you write into us. Sorry about another long episode, but the Arya ones we just gush over, man. We can't help it. And so we're on Facebook, facebook.com/Brotherhood Podcast, Twitter @MannersWithout, Instagram At Brotherhood Without?
Brotherhood Without.
Sure. We have Patreon, patreon.com/withoutmanners, where we have our Mercy chapter, sample chapter up there. Check it out. It's awesome, we think, but what do we know?
I don't remember what happened with the Apple stuff, so you can get us there on...
Yeah, Apple Podcasts, because they now split iTunes into 3 different apps. Apple Podcasts, Apple Music, and Apple Video.
Sure.
It all does the same shit as it used to. It's just easier to find categories, and I don't think it's actually changed yet, so...
Pretty much anywhere you want to listen to podcasts.
Yeah, but you can still rate and review us
Please
there, please.
do.
That'd be awesome. We'll mention it. And if you just have any questions or you want to ask our opinions, if you want to give your opinion on anything, hit us up. The Gmail, withoutmannersbrotherhood@gmail.com.
Yeah, if you're old-fashioned, like to send an email.
Feel free.
Next week we're going to be reading Ned 8, and that'll be a good one. We might even be combining that because it's a sort of shorter chapter. Sort of shorter chapter.
I like that.
And so we may combine that with the Catelyn following it.
Ooh.
But the Catelyn following it is a pretty lengthy chapter.
So we'll see what happens.
So we'll have to see when find a nice balance. But we'll catch you on the next one and try to send us your inductees for the... I don't know what cat number that is. Maybe cat 5 or so.
I want to say it's cat 6.
Maybe cat 6 even.
It's been a good lot of them.
It's been a lot of them. But
I got it here somewhere, I'm sure. Somewhere. Yeah, it is cat 6.
Hey, cat 6. So Ned 8, cat 6 will probably be in the next episode.
Yeah, so if you want to get some inductees... we're recording these as often as we can. It's a little closer to the release date. And then we'll also be doing our show series wrap-up episode. And that's going to be the week after our Tyrion 4 episode releases. So that's going to be... Today is Monday when this comes out. Which isn't actually today, but, you know. And so it'll be the Thursday following this episode release.
Sweet. And then we are also going to be very soon... working on and releasing our Theon Patreon sample chapter. So you have that to look forward to as well.
Yeah, so Patreon subscribers, patrons, be prepared for another awesome audio. We're going to try and get those out. Minimum of 1 a month, and if we can push it, but we're busy guys. What do you want from us?
Anyway, I need to get down to business to defeat the Huns.
Hell yeah. Let's do it.
Valor to Harris.
Peace.